couple questions here I want to pose to you guys before we close, but just kind of as an overview, sort of a summary. So if let's say I want to become an architect, and I want to sort of understand where to start. The first thing is I need to make sure that I'm in an NAAB-accredited program, and I've kind of defined kind of the road that I want to go on. And then once you've completed that, that's probably when you want to establish your NCARB record, which is essentially...
I would do it while you're in school.
You could actually even do it while in school, but certainly by graduation you should do it.
So, and you're right, you mentioned that you get the discount. You only have to pay a little bit when you're in school. So you create your NCARB record, which allows you to begin to document your IDP hours. And so then you want to document your IDP hours, but now you can take the A.R.E. Upon graduation. So you can choose to wait. And interestingly, NCARB's by the numbers report 2015 showed that folks who waited until they were almost done or done with IDP actually had higher pass rates, 81% versus folks who were 5 years before.
Actually 81% is a very good number.
Yeah.
What is it?
It was 52. If you were 5 years away from finishing IDP, it was 52% pass rate. If you were at the completion of IDP, it was 81. So, but in any case, you can choose when you want to start taking the A.R.E. So you can do that after you're done with IDP or overlap it as early as when you graduate. And so if you're in that sort of category right now, you need to sort of decide, hey, am I going to focus on A.R.E. 4, which is going to be around until June of 2018 and just forget about A.R.E. 5? Or am I going to kind of use this strategy here where we overlap the two of them? A.R.E. 5 starts in probably December of 2016. So, you can kind of focus on your overlap, maybe occurs around then.
We'll have a new president by then, right?
We'll have a new president. Or you could sort of say, listen, I'm not going to take the A.R.E. at all until A.R.E. 5 is in town, and so I'm going to wait till December of 2016
and just focus on that
and
all of that.
And then if just to sort of finish the whole thing, once you then complete your your exams, you've passed all 7 of the A.R.E. 4 exams, or you've passed all 6 of the A.R.E. 5 exams, or 5 of the blended model there. Then you need, if you've overlapped this with IDP, you actually need to wait until you're done with IDP. So you need to complete these two things, IDP and the A.R.E. And then once you've completed those two things, you submit through NCARB, you submit your certificate or you submit your record to your licensing board, right?
One other step before that. Mm-hmm. You have to be licensed in one of the states. Just because you passed the A.R.E. and you completed IDP doesn't mean you're automatically licensed. You have to apply to the state that you want to be licensed in as your first licensure state. And they will license you, but it's a process. You have to go through it and you have to pay a fee. In Illinois, it's $100. But they do require that application.
And
remember when you did that?
And just like with the requirements of IDP and the A.R.E., every state could theoretically be slightly different. So actually one step that I missed in this whole process.
Certainly the application process is different in every state.
Yeah, so one step that I missed at the beginning is that you need to, have an idea of where you want to get licensed, and you need to get in touch with your state's licensing advisor. In this case, of course, we're talking to Frank, who's the state licensing advisor for Illinois. But
also you could talk directly to the licensing board. They'll have information. Every state will have their own, they'll have a website or some way of transmitting information. And absolutely you want to make sure, like I said in the very beginning, most people are going to sail right through this without any problem. You're going to go to an accredited school. It's going to be fairly straightforward. You're going to start doing IDP. You'll start doing the A.R.E. You'll pass everything. You submit the forms. Everything's fine. But there's a lot of things that can happen in life. Suddenly you're married and you got a kid, and your spouse is moving to some other state, and you're going with them. Okay, what are you going to do, right? So the idea here is just be cognizant of what the issues are, and make sure that you understand what the state issues are, especially if you're kind of not sure where you're going.
Okay, and so just to finish it up, then once you've submitted your credentials to your state and they give you your license, Frank, as you talked about, you then have the choice to apply for NCARB certification.
I always recommend that very strongly.
Which is something you can choose to do.
It's harder to do it later than it is to do it right away.
Yeah. Which I think is kind of probably the principle of this entire process, is just kind of just shut up and do it.
You can glide right into certification. information after you become licensed in one of the states.
Yep.
If you postpone that credential, you're going to have to furnish NCARB with all of your experience between the time you first got your license and the time you're applying for certification. And that sometimes is an onerous process and difficult to put that information together.
And again, the purpose of NCARB certification is so that you can very easily essentially pull a license. If you're licensed, let's say you're, in your example, if you're licensed in Illinois and you're NCARB certified, when you have that client from Georgia who says, hey, can you do some work in Georgia for me? Do you have a Georgia license? You can say, yeah, I can get one in a couple of weeks or a week or a couple of days. It's very easy. Whereas if you don't have that, then you have to go through like an extremely elaborate process in order to get that license, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So one thing, just one of the things you said there, which I think is worth sort of taking a second on, about the timing of when you want to take the A.R.E. One of the things that people find is that, and Frank alluded to this a little bit earlier, there was sort of a decision that the schools would be about the sort of conceptual ideas of architecture, and that you would learn through this kind of apprenticeship / IDP process about the specifics, about the kind of industry of architecture and how the contracts work and how the construction administration works and things. And that split means that while you get a lot of this material in school, it's pretty hands-off. And so the exam is really focused on what it's like being an architect out in the world. Just as one quick example, you probably, when you're in school, didn't spend a lot of time designing parking lots. But to pass the exam, you should understand how to design a parking lot. So this is one of those things where there may be certain exams that make sense to take right away as you graduate, but other ones you probably want to get a little bit of experience. Everybody's going to have different kind of background. I have some students who have been working for firms all the way through school, or working for contractors all the way through school, and they have a lot of background, and then when they graduate, they're ready to start taking the exam because they've got all this background. And other ones who, for various reasons, have very little work experience and are just kind of fresh out of school, and those folks probably doesn't make sense to dive right into the A.R.E. You probably want to get at least some working experience before you start taking the exam. So this is just one more example to say, be strategic about it. Like, think about, well, who are you in that process? If you're taking 4.0 and it's under the current system, a lot of folks think, well, I took a lot of structures classes in school. Maybe I start with structures and I get those done.
That's a great suggestion. I would recommend
get that going.
Because you forget all those structural formulas by the time you're ready to take the test.
And so that may be a reason to start. And then, maybe then you work for a year or two and then take all the rest of them after you've had a little bit of experience. Do remember that there's the 5-year rolling clock, so you don't want to take something and then wait 10 years because then it won't count. But that idea that the exam is not really about what you learned in school generally, it's more about what you've learned in the practice out in the field.
Absolutely, that's true.
So guys, I have a question here from Omar. He asks, so he has he has a master's in architecture, a bunch of experience, but he never did the IDP process, and of course he's at the discouraged that even though he has 6 years of experience and has gone through this whole career, now he's got to go spend 2 to 3 years undertaking the IDP process in order to even begin taking the A.R.E. exams. Can you guys comment on that?
No, I think he's probably earned enough credit that he can get credit for. If he's worked for 6 years, he can go back 5 years and get half the credit. So half the credit is less than 5 years worth of experience. Yeah. As long as he's had a diversified experience, that's the key. But he's got to sign up for IDP. There's no getting around that. There's no workaround for that.
Yeah. Okay.
But it will be a bit of a bureaucratic. He's got to have to set up and get going and make sure he's got all the information about the 5 years. It's totally doable.
I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah. The other thing to say is, this is very easy for me to say as somebody who's already, down through this process and everything. but everybody thinks like, oh my God, I got to get through this right away, and you want to get through it right away, but the fact that it takes another year or so, that's fine. It's it'll be. You got a long career ahead of you. It's all good.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then one last question here. Of course, I'll take one more question if anyone has one here. But Waleed is asking, he's done a lot of construction work with Habitat for Humanity builds. And he's wondering if that would count for anything other than leadership and service, for example, construction observation or something like that.
I think in the newer versions, only if there's a licensed architect around. Is that right?
No, I think he can get construction observation experience, not necessarily working directly for an architect. Most of the leadership, and there's a maximum number of hours you can get out of leadership and service, and it's pretty small.
So you can get it, it's just not a huge number of hours.
Yeah. I think it's 120 or something like that.
Which is still 120 hours, so that's great. But but it's not you're not going to be able to do all of your IDP through that or anything along those lines.
No, you have to have a minimum of 1 year, roughly 1 year of experience, which is 1,200 some hours, in working for an architect directly. And I've had interns call me and they say, well, I've never worked for an architect. I had a guy that really, the state was putting him through all kinds of problems. He had been licensed, but he let his license lapse. And so now he's let his license lapse. He has to prove that he's been working for an architect since he let it lapse. And he can't because he's not working for an architect, even though he had a license before. So watch out! Don't let your license lapse.
Yeah,
he just forgot to renew it.
When you get the letter from the license board, you pay the bill right away.
Kind of like
get
paying for your license sticker on your car. You got to do that every year too.
It's very expensive.
It's not expensive to continue that. I mean, it's $60 a year, I think, or something. It's not very much.
Not too bad. Hey, we have one last question here from Rishi, and she's in one of these difficult situations. She's got a 5-year undergrad degree from abroad, followed by a 2-year graduate degree from the U.S. that's not NAAB-accredited. She's been working under several licensed architects since 2003, and she's wondering, still need to go through the entire evaluation process. Mm-hmm. Basically,
as it's currently set up.
As it's currently set up. Do you know, would it be to their advantage to kind of wait until?
Yeah, it would be. I think if she waits a year, things will get loosened up in that area.
So it's worth noting here, though, that
no promises.
No promises there. Like that, what you might be doing is just waiting another year.
Having seen how successful Michael Armstrong is in getting these changes implemented, my bet would be that he's going to push this one through too.
Yeah.
Which means that you don't have to go through the evaluation process for your degree. They give you credit for your degree.
And one of the things that I would say about these sort of difficult ones, but also really for everybody, is the folks at NCARB are actually really nice, on top of it, sort of good people. But
we should give a shout out to Martin Smith,
for
being helpful with all of our interns.
All the folks there, I've had really great relationships with those folks. They're really strong and want to be helpful. They want to make new architects out there. But, and here's the sort of key part of it, you are in control. Like, you need to make things happen. Nobody is going to send in your IDP hours. You have to do it. Nobody is going to, if you haven't gotten results back of the A.R.E. exam you took, you find out what happened. There's all kinds of, think about how big a country it is and all the different things going on. Who knows, right? There's all kinds of things that can be going wrong. And just you find the person who can help you and then make it happen.
Well, that's why there's also these licensing advisors like I am.
Sure.
And every school has them. Many of the large firms have them as well. So that's the role that we play as volunteers, to assist people in getting through this process.
But you have to go find that person or call NCARB or do it. So, I hear people come to me all the time and complain about, oh, my situation is, well, have you talked to and I'm like, well, no, I haven't. You got to make it happen. There isn't anybody sitting in Washington, D.C. going, I wonder how Marc is doing,
Yeah, right.
You have to tell them that there's a problem.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll end it there. So thank you, Mike, and thank you, Frank. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in and who submitted their questions today. As you can see on the screen here, if you'd like to attend our next A.R.E. live broadcast, where you'll be able to ask Mike questions about the A.R.E., visit blackspectacles.com/podcast to register to attend. And just like today's episode, you'll have a chance to ask questions and share your answers with us for live feedback during the broadcast. And to learn more about our AIA A.R.E. prep curriculum, go to blackspectacles.com, where you can try out any of the free course videos. And for those of you who are ready to start preparing for the A.R.E., so if you've already gone through IDP and you're ready to go, and if you're already an AIA member, so you've taken Frank's good advice, as a part of our partnership with the AIA, you can visit the URL that you can see on the screen here, which is bksp.es/IDP-AND-ARE.
It just rolls off the tongue.
There it is. To get a 15% discount for the entire duration of your AIA A.R.E. prep membership. Finally, please leave a comment below the video to let us know what you think and share any suggestions you may have. I promise we'll read every word that you write and use them to tune our next episodes. So thanks for watching.